Sales can be one of the highest paying jobs in the world, in which you can earn more than doctors, surgeons, lawyers, earning high multiple six figures to even multiple seven figures and up, or one of the lowest paying jobs in the world if you're not good at actually being in sales. I've actually made a list of 39 ways to stay poor in sales, which I'm going to go through today in my phone, and also what you can do to make sure you get rich too. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Number 1, chase commissions alone and focus only on your own outcomes. The reality is, if you only focus on just earning commissions and trying to close to max out how much you earn, you're going to focus on the wrong things. You're not going to focus on your prospect, and you are more likely to only do things that are self-serving. And when you act self-serving in the sales process, the prospect will feel it, they'll smell it, and they'll push you away. So by you trying to earn more commissions and pushing what you believe is going to make you more money, you'll actually close less deals. Number 2, consume lots of content, books, podcasts, etc., and then do absolutely nothing. And in today's world, there is plenty of free resources out there, from the content on LinkedIn to YouTube. You can also buy courses, etc. But the worst thing you can do is consume all this content, whether it's free or paid, and do absolutely nothing. In today's world, you are paid not on the information you have in your head, but on how you actually execute and take action. So be someone who not just consumes, but be an executor of the knowledge you actually consume. Because remember, you get paid on the value you bring to the marketplace, which is based on the actions you take every single day and not on the knowledge you have in your head. Number 3, expect others to give you what you need to be successful. One of the worst things you can do, whether you start a brand new company or you've been there for a while, is to sit around and just wait and hope someone's going to give you the roadmap, the structure, the training, the product knowledge, the things that you need to be successful. The truth is, fortune favors those who take the most action, seek out the information they need to become successful. The truth is, if you are reactive and you're sitting around waiting for someone to come save you, to come help you, you're not going to be able to execute the same level as someone who's going out there to seek the information, to go talk to prospects, and to try, because those are the ones who are going to go and take action, and they're not going to allow their circumstances to hold them back from achieving what they actually need to achieve. Number 4, take advice from poor and underperforming reps. The truth is, underperforming reps love to tell you what not to do, what to do instead. But if they were actually taking that action, then they would actually be successful. The people you actually want to listen to are the ones who are actually performing. This is no different than if you want to be in great shape. You probably don't want a personal trainer that you're working with who is completely out of shape. You probably want a personal trainer who's actually fit, in shape, so they actually aren't acting and they are actually doing the things that they actually are preaching. So one of the fastest way to get better at results is you find the people who are actually crushing it and literally follow what they say and take their advice instead. Number 5, do your best and not what it takes to be successful. It comes to a certain point where you can do your best and you'll definitely get better over time. But if you want to become hyper successful, sometimes your best is not enough, and you need to do beyond that to become massively successful. And I'll give you a really good example. So when I first got started in sales, I was doing my best. I was working hard. I thought I was trying really hard, but I was not that good. I was underperforming. I got threatened to get a PIP by my boss. I was not that good because ultimately, yes, I was working hard. Yes, I was doing my best, but I wasn't doing what it takes to be successful. And there were things that I still needed to do to become better at my job. So for example, role playing and really practicing all the frameworks, all the scripts I knew, knowing those inside and out takes extra work. It wasn't something I could just do and just practice on prospects. I needed to take that time to actually do what it takes to be successful. And when you think about the most elite athletes in the world, they not only do they work hard at practice, but they usually put in more effort outside of practice to become better at their game. They're working hard on themselves. They're eating the proper diet. They're consuming the right mental stuff. They're working out even more, doing different exercises to be even more well-rounded. But that's what it takes to be successful. So it's not just doing the bare minimum, doing that really well, is doing whatever it takes to be successful. Number 6, start something new every day and never finish it. The truth is, a lot of very average and mediocre performers are constantly trying new things out all the time. But the problem is, if you try something new every single day, every single week, you don't give yourself the chance to actually improve and see if it actually works. And it's no different than anything else in life. So for example, if you try a new diet every single day, you're not going to lose the weight you want, because you're not going to know what actually truly works. And when you actually have a plan, you stick through it, you'll find you'll actually improve results a lot faster by choosing one thing and sticking all the way through. Number 7, find something that works and then stop doing it. This is a pretty common thing where I see reps who they find something that starts to work pretty well. Maybe it's a certain email framework, maybe email sequence, maybe a cold call script, maybe a way to handle objections. And they do it for a little bit. They're like, oh, this is awesome. And then they stop doing it, even though it made them successful. So sometimes you already have the knowledge of what it takes to be successful, but are you doing it every day is a question. Number 8, prioritize looking successful versus being successful. How many people do you know that look the part? Maybe they have the nice house, the nice car, the nice clothes, they act a certain way, but beneath the surface, they're like a duck, calm up top, but below the surface, their legs are going crazy trying to stay afloat. And the truth is, when you spend all that energy trying to look successful versus actually being successful, you don't focus your energy on the right things. You focus on superficial things versus the things that actually truly matter, that actually move the needle in your sales process. Number 9, believing you've already peaked in your skills. This is something I see across the board for the poor salespeople. As they get to a certain level, maybe they've been in sales for 3 to 5 or even longer, longer than that time frame, and they believe, yep, that's it. I've gotten as good as I'm going to get. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm going to do. I'm going to get better and better and better. And the sad thing is I've met people who have been in sales for over 20 years, and they tout, I've been in sales for 20 plus years, but they never really maxed out their compound, never achieved results at consistent basis, never really won any awards, never really achieved true external success or even internal success. And they believe that they've already peaked in their skills, but the truth is, even though they have 20 years experience, they really have 1 year experience repeated 20 times. And the truth is, success and sales and growth and learning, it's a journey. This is why the most elite athletes in the world, even after they make it to the peak of their game, maybe even after they win all the championships, maybe they made it to the Olympics or whatever peak level in whatever sports you're in, they continue to practice every single day. They continue to have coaches. They continue to have help because they know that they merely have gotten to the point now where it is harder to make massive gains, and now they need to make incremental gains every single day. Number 10, wait for the perfect time or condition to take action. Here's reality. I see this all the time with mediocre salespeople is they say, oh, I'm going to wait until this quarter to start doing this. I'm going to wait until after I get married to start doing this. I'm going to wait until X happens. I'm going to wait till I have these special circumstances occur, and then I'm going to start taking action. The truth is when you start thinking this way, you'll always be delaying what you actually could be doing. And it comes at a major cost of time tax and opportunity costs. And I'll give you a really good example. I had a very good friend who's in sales, and they really want to just take their time to really get help to improve their game. They said, Marcus, I'm going to come to you, get some help from you, but I want to wait until I finish this quarter, and then I'm going to start working with you. And I remember asking, I said, hey, so why do you want to wait until the quarter ends? He said, well, I'm pretty busy right now. I got to wrap this quarter up, and then I'll be able to go all in the following quarter. And I asked him, well, isn't that the whole reason why you wanted to work with me and get my help anyways? Is so you can make sure your quarter is absolutely great? And he's like, damn, you're right. You're absolutely right. So ultimately, when you are always waiting for a perfect time to do anything, there's never going to be a perfect time, because the truth is you will always be busy. And as time goes on, you only have more get added to your plate. So you'll never get less busy. You'll always be very busy. It's just a matter of priorities. And the truth is, the most successful people understand this. So as a result, they eliminate what doesn't serve them, and they choose the time as now to take action. As the saying goes, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. Number 11, blame your circumstances and everyone else. This is something I see happen all the time. People say, hey, the economy is bad, my company's bad, I didn't get training, I blame my boss, and all these things. And I used to do the same thing. And the reality is when you blame everything else, you take zero accountability and zero ownership, you are saying, hey, I can't be successful because of whatever reason, and you'll always have something to blame. But the truth is, those who are most successful, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of whatever, they find a way to become massively successful. They don't blame a lack of resources. They are resourceful, and that's how they're able to achieve massive results. Number 12, tolerate mediocrity from yourself and others. One of the fastest ways to the bottom is to have very low expectations of yourself and to tolerate low expectations. If you allow yourself to say, it's okay for me to only, not show up, not make calls, not send out emails, not give 100%, well, as a result, you're also tolerating now the results of those poor actions. And if it's not just of yourself, but it's people around you. If you accept mediocrity in your life, it ends up spreading like a disease. This is why typically if you are surrounded by people that are giving you bad advice, you're also mediocre, you naturally will become mediocre as well. And if you have a pretty crappy crowd, even if you're the best performer of the crappy crowd, once you move to a bigger pond, a larger company, etc., you'll see very quickly that you're still at the very bottom. And the only way to get rid of that is to eliminate mediocrity and not accept it in your own life. Number 13, choose a spouse who doesn't support you. As you know, sales is not easy. So if you choose a spouse who does not support you, support your growth, support your career, and they constantly dog you and bring you down, that's going to keep you poor. It'll always be in your head. You'll never truly reach your full potential. So this is why it's so key to choose a spouse who supports you in your career in sales. Number 14, value the opinion of others over your own. If you are constantly seeking the opinion and validation of others on your team, in your circle, whatever, it's going to hold you back from taking the actions that are required for success. And a lot of times when you are doing the uncommon, you're achieving uncommon results, you're doing uncommon things. And that means people are going to challenge you, and they're going to challenge what you're saying, what you're doing, etc. And when you realize that, you realize pretty quickly you can't value the opinion of others, because if you did, then you would just never take action. And the only way you do not receive any type of criticism from anybody is if you do absolutely nothing. If you do absolutely nothing, then you're not going to have any results to back it up either. Number 15, not reviewing your numbers consistently. If you want to become better at your game, you need to have massive self-awareness. That simply means you are reviewing your numbers, your metrics every single day, from your leading indicators, which are things that actions that you take that can be measured that lead to a greater future result, and also your lagging indicators, results that have already happened that can be closed deals, revenue closed, etc., your closing ratio, and you want to look at both every single day. When you review it consistently, this gives you massive self-awareness, so you know exactly where you stand, but then also how to also improve too. So even if you don't like the answers, you don't like what you see, this now gives you data to make better decisions. This is a tight feedback loop. It's no different than if you weighed yourself every single day for a year. I guarantee you, if you did not weigh yourself, you'll naturally kind of gain weight as a result, and you wouldn't even realize it. But if you weighed yourself every single day, now you have massive self-awareness, so you see exactly where you stand every day, and that allows you to have the data to make a better decision. Number 16, focusing on being busy versus productive. This is a super easy trap to fall into, especially in being sales, because you're busy, you have Slack messages, emails, you have etc. Things come at you nonstop. And one very simple way to really understand how productive your time really is look at all the activities you do. How many of them are going to be generating income? Meaning, are they adding to your pipeline? Are they going to move deals in your pipeline? Or are they closing pipeline? If it's not doing any of those things, chances are pretty good you're being busy doing admin work, doing things that actually don't truly move the needle. Number 17, believe you'll just get better with time. Like I mentioned this earlier, like with the example of the person who had 20 years experience repeated, 1 year multiplied by 20 times. That's the truth. In order to actually get better with time, you need to actually put the work in. And I'll give you a really good example. Like if you are a parent or probably have parents, just because they've been your parent your whole life doesn't mean they're a good parent. They could be your parent for 20, 30, 40 years, but it doesn't mean they're a good parent because of the time. What makes them a good parent is what they do consistently in that time with you. And sales is no different. Just because you have more time doing sales, prospecting, closing, it doesn't actually make you better with time. You have to be intentional with the growth in your skills. Otherwise, you'll actually just be mediocre. Number 18, only take action when you feel like it. If I only took action only when I felt like it, I would never get paid, I would never make any money, and I would be the worst rep possible. Because the truth is nobody wakes up every single day and say, I'm 100% 100%. I'm feeling amazing. Let's go freaking crush it every single day. Those who are successful learn how to train their minds to get themselves in a peak performing state. So you want to make sure that you understand you have the discipline to take action regardless of how you feel. Number 19, avoid working on what matters most. In today's world, it's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to grab your phone, start scrolling social media, go down the YouTube train, and get completely distracted and not do what really matters. So, for example, I've talked to many sales reps where they know they have a call session set up for the day. Maybe it's for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, but they have a call reluctance. So what they end up doing is they find any reason to not make calls. That could be, let me pull up my email, let me pull up Slack, and they start going through it. Let me organize some folders. Let me kind of look some things up. And they fool themselves in being busy and not being productive. And they're actually avoiding the things that actually move the needle. Number 20, wake up and live with zero intention. You kind of notice here, some of these are kind of stacking on top of each other, right? Like if you're waking up with zero intention, that means whatever is thrown your way, whatever people are slacking you, emailing you, texting you, or social media or whatever apps are throwing at you, they're pulling your attention. If you have zero intention in how you will live by the intentions of other people. Because remember, when you're checking your text message, you're checking your inbox, your email, when you're reading that email, you are now the subject of someone else's attention, that someone else has pulled you in and getting you to do what they want to do. So you want to be able to wake up and have intention with your day. And when you have intention in your day, that's how you actually get stuff done. So if you reflect back, if you ever had a day where you woke up and then suddenly the day flies by, you're like, what happened today? You probably didn't live with intention. You probably became a victim, if you will, of other people's grabbing your attention. Number 21, make promises and break promises. One of the fastest ways to become really poor is literally make promises and break promises. I've seen this consistently across the board. Underperformers they make promises, but they never follow through the promises. And ultimately, you are only as good as your word. Regardless of what you have in the world, you always have your word and your values. So those who constantly make and break promises, they're always breaking promises to other people, whether it's to their boss, to their employer, to customers, to prospects, to clients. But the truth is, when they break promises to other people, they're breaking promises really to themselves, and they're not upholding what they could truly be. Number 22, pitch without asking questions first. Now, this is more so from a sales call process, but a lot of the time, I've seen a lot of underperforming reps where they believe they know their ICP, ideal customer profile, so they are so ready to start presenting and pitching their demo, their features, their benefits, without having a good understanding of their prospect. So they get on a demo with them, for example, and they ask maybe one question. Hey, what do you do about your HR software? Oh, we don't do anything. Cool. Let me show you this, and this. They start pitching. And what ends up happening, prospect says, okay, that sounds pretty neat. Let me think about it. And then they get ghosted, right? So if you pitch first, you don't even know if you're truly solving the problem that they actually have. Number 23, keep repeating the same mistakes. Now, it's okay to make mistakes because you want to fail forward, but if you are constantly making the same mistakes over and over and over, it's time to look in the mirror. And I'll give you a really good example. I remember I had a rep, they were working directly for me, and they would struggle with some really important details in terms of the back end process to ensure these clients were very happy and they're going to stay a long happy customer. And we discussed it multiple times, but they never seemed to figure it out, and it always led to pissed off customers on the back end. And eventually got to the point where we're going to separate, and this is one thing I heavily coached them on, but they never were willing to take ownership of it. So as a result, though, what ended up happening is they went somewhere else, and what happened? Same issue. They worked for 6 months and getting fired, and it kept repeating over and over and over. And within 5 years, they had a new job every year because they kept making the same mistakes over and over and over, and they weren't willing to look at the mistakes and just solve mistakes and actually be better at their job. Number 24, trying too hard to be persuasive. Have you ever noticed if you get on a sales call and you are like pushing, they actually just end up backing away and retracting? Yeah, when you try too hard to be persuasive, you try funny one-liners, etc., and you're not truly being an honest, helpful, curious person that really wants to serve, as a result, you're going to push people away. They don't like that. Like, think about last time someone tried to persuade you on a sales call. How did you feel? ultimately, you always find the best salespeople are ones who truly understand you and you feel heard and you feel they can truly help solve your issue. They're not trying to be persuasive. They're focusing on being influential to solve your problem. Number 25, do what everyone else is doing. If you want to be truly extraordinary, you can't do what everyone's doing. If you read on LinkedIn the special new, email that everyone's doing now, if you do it too, it's going to stop working. In order to get uncommon results, you must do uncommon things. And prospects recognize that. So you want to make sure you just don't go with the crowds. Otherwise, you're going to end up not performing as well. And let me give you a real good example. So one example is in general, most people say voicemails don't work. You call a prospect, leave a voicemail, they don't call you back. And so they don't leave voicemail. So what do they do? The voicemail that they have, hey, redirects to the email. Yes, that can work to get them to read the email. But remember, if you get them to call you back, then you can actually have a conversation with them, overcome objections, and actually book a meeting. And you can't do that via email because they don't respond to your email. Well, you don't have a response then. So what most people do is they just don't leave voicemails. And I remember being in sales and I realized this. I'm like, that's really interesting. Like, well, if I could figure out how to get people to call me back, I'm already ahead of the game because most people aren't leaving voicemails. And over the years, I eventually tweaked it and figured it out where I got my voicemail script to get me a 70% callback as a result by being different. And if you're on my YouTube channel right here, you'll see it's actually one of the free trainings you can observe. But the key is doing something different got a better result than what everyone else is doing. Remember, in order to achieve uncommon, extraordinary results, you can't do what the ordinary common people are doing. Number 26, assume you are always right. This is a huge issue. I personally have fell for this mistake myself, especially early on, having an ego and thinking that I'm always right. And the reality is when I thought I was always right, it made me less likely to be open to other people's thoughts, other people's opinions, other people's ideas, and it actually held back my growth. Only by being open to hear what other people's opinions are, it really made me realize how much I do not know. And the truth is, the truth is not binary. There are ranges to the truth. So when you realize it's not about being right or wrong, because it could be right just depending on which vantage point you're looking at, you start thinking in a different way. So for example here, whether you are a Democrat or Republican in the US, you can have very different opinions about how certain things are done, policies, procedures, how laws work, etc. in the US. And the truth is, it's not that one's right or wrong. It just depends on which view you're standing on. If you're standing on the right side, you can look at something in a completely different way. And on the left side, it's the same thing. Either way, you're right depending on which side of the line you're standing on. So it's not necessarily binary. But when you understand that and you are able to put aside ego and just not think you're always right, you actually become more well-rounded and better at understanding other people, which is a key skill in sales. Number 27, complain about everything. One of the fastest ways to fill your head full of negative stuff and negative mindset and ideas and thoughts is complain about everything. Because when you complain about things, you are saying, this is out of my control. I don't like this. I give up. And that's really it. And when you think about that, that's not going to help solve your problem. Because the truth is, even if you are absolutely right and the circumstance cannot be changed by you, you can change how you view the circumstance. And I'll give you a really good example. So early on, I used to complain about my commute to work. And I used to commute to work. It would take me 45 minutes one way and 45 minutes back. And I would complain, oh, this is the worst, sitting in traffic. I hate it. And it was just not enjoyable. And I'm wasting an hour and a half of my life. Now, that was one perspective. And that was a negative perspective. And what I do to shift it though, I started asking myself, hey, what could I do in that time to actually be productive and still safe? Well, I could learn. So I started to listen to, Audible and different types of books on tape or, books in my car while driving. So now instead of wasting an hour and a half each day, I would take an hour and a half of learning every day that made me better. And suddenly I stopped complaining about my drives because I actually enjoyed them. I enjoyed learning. I enjoyed learning new things and improving my game. I would even listen to my own call recordings and this helped me become a better version of me because now I took that hour and a half of time. I didn't complain about being stuck in traffic. I used it as a way to develop myself to increase my skills and make more money. Number 28, think that the world is fair. How many times have you heard someone say, that's not fair, this is not fair, this law is not fair, this policy is not fair, that's not fair? I'm sure you have heard it many times, but whoever said it was fair? And the truth is, life is not going to be fair. It doesn't really matter though, because if you think that everything's going to be fair, that's just not how the world works. This is why you'll see certain people will always prevail, even if it's not considered fair. So for example, this is a little bit controversial, but a lot of people get really upset at entrepreneurs or those who make a lot of money, but they pay less taxes than a lot of people. And you can complain about that. You can think that's not fair, but the truth is people's actions are based off of the parameters and rules and regulations are. And especially in the US, you are heavily incentivized to become an entrepreneur, to create jobs and to create real estate for people to live. So as a result, they get more tax benefits. And if you think that's not fair, it doesn't have to be fair. That's just how it's set up. And the truth is, nothing is really fair. It's just how you perceive it. Nothing has any meaning there's nothing has any meaning except for the meaning you get it. So you can take a look at a situation and think that's not fair, or you can say to yourself, that's an interesting situation. How can I leverage that same situation to my own benefit? Number 29, multitask with everything. Now, I used to try to be a big multitasker. I used to think I was really good at multitasking, and if it took zero brain power, I could walk and talk on the phone, sure, no problem. But once I had to apply a little bit of focus, I'm about to cross the street, I have to stop talking. And the mistake many people fool themselves with is, I'm going to multitask all throughout the day. And the truth is, when you're multitasking all throughout the day, you're trying to make outbound calls, you're trying to write emails at the same time, you're trying to send out proposals and do all these things and reply in Slack, you do all of them mediocrely. Versus if you properly time block and then you are more focused and taking action in that specific time block to do that one singular task and not multitask at all. Because you'll do a way better job with more throughput than trying to do a bunch of things mediocrely. Number 30, be reactive to everything. This is, if you want to be really poor, you just live with zero intention and just wait for things to happen, wait for things to break, wait for your numbers to fall, wait till you get put on a pip, and then you say, okay, I should do something. And the reality is the most unsuccessful people are very, very reactive. They're the ones who are running around like a chicken with their head cut off, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. But the truth is, they're simply always living in the past and they're always reactive. All right, we're getting closer. Number 31, play the short game only. The reality is if you only play the short game, you're only looking for short-term gains, similar to chasing down commissions, you will take actions that only drive towards a short-term gain. But the truth is, anything great, it requires taking the actions today that may not have payoffs until tomorrow, a year from now, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, etc. And those I have seen who are most successful in life, in sales, in sports, or whatever, they understand this long-term view and they understand the power of delayed self-gratification. So they're always playing the long game. And what that means is, I'll give you an example from an investing perspective. If you play the short game only, if the market is good, you're investing, and then when the market's bad, you start selling off. And when you start thinking about this, when you play long term, and if you know in the scheme of things that in 1 year it's going to go up and down a stock, but if you look at the whole 10 years, it's naturally just going to go upward. You're going to keep buying and you're going to hold. And the most elite performers across the board understand from investing to sales to sports, whatever, they play only the long game. They do the things today that'll pay them crazy dividends tomorrow. They understand doing what's hard today makes for an easier life tomorrow. On the flip side, those who are most poor, they do what's easy today and then it's going to be super hard tomorrow. Number 32, fail once and quit forever. The reality is if you're not failing, not making mistakes, you're simply not trying hard enough, you're not learning. And if you only fail once and then you quit forever, you'll never become better at this. And I see this all the time where someone says, Marcus, hey, I think cold calling's dead. And I'll say, hey, why do you think cold calling's dead? They're like, oh man, I made a bunch of calls and didn't book any meetings. Great. How many calls did you make? Well, I made 30 calls. In a day? Well, the whole month. Well, 30 calls is not enough data to actually determine if you actually get better at working out or get better at getting results. It's no different than if you're working out or trying to eat clean. If you only, eat one salad and suddenly you don't lose weight, it doesn't mean salads don't work, eating clean doesn't work. It just means you ate one salad. That's all it means. And you can't give up because you simply failed. The truth is, those who are most successful understand every failure is a result which they can learn from. They can always be moving forward. This applies across the board for anything else, for everything in life, because those who understand that are constantly taking action and are looking for a result in which they can learn from and become better as a result of that. Number 33, talk more and do less. I have found the poor salespeople always talk a big game about all these things they're going to do, but they never are able to show the results from it. They're always talking a big game about all these deals you're going to close, these opportunities in the pipeline, but they never back it up with the data, they never back it up with the action, they never back it up with the follow through to actually get to where you want to go. Number 34. Disrespect yourself. This is a big one. If you are constantly beating yourself up, disrespecting yourself, not following through with your own commitments to yourself, you're only hurting yourself. If you commit to waking up, preparing a list to start making calls, and then you don't do it, you're disrespecting yourself because you're telling yourself it's not that important to you, your goals are not that important. But once you start realizing this and you realize the more you respect yourself, the more you're going to be able to get better opportunities and close more deals, you'll see it's a major shift in mindset. Number 35, avoid discomfort. All right. The truth is, everything great was built in your zone of uncomfortability. And the reality is because it's hard to do, it's uncomfortable, that means you'll get the greatest yield because most people are not going to do it. It's no different than if you're working out. It's uncomfortable to show up, work out, and to lift heavy weights. When you lift heavy weights, what happens? It breaks your muscles down. That's hard to do. But ultimately, it's only because the muscles are breaking down do you actually become stronger and better. So when you actually chase being uncomfortable, this is actually when you grow the most. So for another example as well, is it's uncomfortable to ask the business. It's uncomfortable to dive in deep. It's uncomfortable to ask a lot of questions that are going to help you dive into a process situation. But only when you dive in deep are you able to uncover the real truth from a process to truly be able to help them. Number 36, treat it like a job. If you want to stay poor in sales, you just treat it like a job. You show up, kind of work your hours, lack intention, don't work that hard, and then wonder why you don't perform. And then every 6, 12, 18 months, you get a new job. If you treat it like a job, you'll never truly build income and build wealth. And I'll tell you right now, before I even started my business, I was in corporate America for 14 years. I worked for 2 major companies. I could promote 10 times in 10 years, not because I just kind of worked hard, but I treated it like a career. I looked at it long-term wise and I did the hard things that I knew would pay massive dividends down the road. That meant doing more than my job, treating it like it was like my own business. And when I look at the top performers across the board, they treat their role not like a job. They treat it like it's literally their life. And when you start acting that way, it's amazing the results that you achieve because your mindset is so different than, oh, I only work here for 2 hours a day. Number 37, start tomorrow if you want to stay poor in sales. This is what a lot of people end up doing that are very, very average. They say, tomorrow I'm going to start making more calls. Tomorrow I'm going to start doing these things. The truth is, tomorrow's never given. And I shared that quote earlier, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. And when you're always thinking about tomorrow, when tomorrow arrives, something always pops up that potentially can hold you back as another excuse. And when you accept that excuse, I'm going to start tomorrow, you essentially are disrespecting yourself and the values you're upholding for where you want to actually go. Number 38, be replaceable. If you want to be replaceable at work, you show up barely, you don't try that hard, you do a mediocre job, you miss deadlines, you don't prospect, you don't follow up, you don't ask tough questions, you don't learn product knowledge, you don't learn objection handling, you don't do the things that really make you irreplaceable. And if you want to stay poor in sales, that's very simple. Just be replaceable. Be the lowest performer. And it's a very fast way that you will stay poor in sales. All right. Number 39. This is the last one. This is a big one. This kind of ties to everything here, which is have an ego. If you want to stay poor in sales, have a massive ego. There's no faster way to stay poor in sales is to have an ego and believe you are already good enough at this job, that you're at the max potential, that you can't learn anymore. Because when you have an ego, it prevents you from actually truly growing. And ultimately, if you're not growing, you're dying. So if you want to stay poor in sales, have an ego. So there you have it, 39 ways to stay poor in sales. Now, if you want to build massive income and generate a lot of money and become rich in sales, you simply do the inverse. Meaning, let's go through this list real quick. So, number 1, chase helping the customer and serving their outcomes. 2, consume content and take massive action. Number 3, expect nothing and do what it takes to be successful. Number 4, take advice from top performers only. Number 5, do what it takes to be successful. Number 6, if you start something new, you finish it and you complete it all the way. Number 7, if you find something that works and you keep doing it. Number 8, you prioritize actually being successful versus just looking successful. Number 9, you put away all ego and know you can always continue to grow in your skills. Number 10, you take action regardless of the perfect time and condition. Regardless, you understand there is no perfect time, there's no perfect condition. It does not exist. Number 11, you don't blame your circumstances on anybody and you take 100% responsibility. Number 12, you don't tolerate mediocrity from yourself or anybody else. Number 13, you choose a spouse who supports you. Number 14, you choose to value your own opinion over others. Number 15, you review numbers consistently. Number 16, you focus on being productive. Number 17, you know time does not make you better, but actually focus on becoming better makes you better. Number 18, you take action regardless of how you feel. Number 19, you work on what matters the most. Number 20, you wake up and live with intention every single day. Number 21, you make promises and you keep promises. Number 22, you ask tons of questions first and you uncover the prospect's needs and then you present only if you've earned the right. Number 23, you make mistakes, but you learn from mistakes. Number 24, you focus on being influential versus persuasive. Number 25, you do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Number 26, assume you're always wrong. You can always learn. Remove that ego. Number 27, don't complain. Number 28, realize the world is not fair and take action regardless. Number 29, you don't multitask, you choose one task, you commit and you take action. Number 30, you are proactive with everything. Number 31, you play the long game, you always focus on long-term gains. Number 32, you fail once, you learn, and you keep failing forward. Number 33, talk less, do more. Number 35, respect yourself. Number 36, chase discomfort and take action where it's most uncomfortable. Number 36, treat it like a career. Number 37, start today and don't wait for tomorrow. Number 38, be irreplaceable in everything that you do across the board, from how you show up to the results you deliver to the discretionary effort you provide in your work every single day to your boss and to all your leaders at the organization you're at. And number 39, be humble and be open to learning. So there you have it. If you do those 39 things, I promise you, you will become rich in sales as a result. Now, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe as well, and let me know in the comments below, what was the number one thing you're going to stop doing right now so you become rich in sales? See you in the next video.